Welcome to Future Chronicles, a European podcast created within a 2-year Erasmus Plus project where young women and allies expose gender disinformation, unpack how it spreads, and share how we can resist it. From the margins to the center, reclaiming our narratives, rebuilding trust, and strengthening democracy.
Welcome to a new episode of Future Chronicles, where we try to understand how gender disinformation is produced, how it spreads, and most importantly, why it works. Not only as false content, but as a way of telling stories about reality, as a way of creating reality, of building credibility, and of course, distributing power. Today, we are recording this episode from different parts of Italy. I'm Amalia, I am the coordinator of this project and I work for Sinergie, which is an NGO based in Naples. So I'm recording this episode from Naples, and joining me today are also two special guests, Rosalba and Sofia.
Hi everyone. I'll go first if you are okay. I'm Rosalba. I'm recording this episode from Verona, if I'm working at the University of Siena, where I teach linguistics and applied linguistics.
Hi everyone, I'm Sofia. I'm from Rome, and I'm a master's student in gender studies here in Rome.
So really 3 different parts of Italy, also geographically, south, center, and north. And so today we're talking about something we use all the time and we often take for granted, which is language. Because we thought this is an important, crucial topic, because words don't just describe the word, but they create the word and organize it. To explore this, as you know, I'm joined by Rosalba Nodari. She's the author of the book Linguicismo e Potere in Italian, that is Linguicism and Power. And together we'll try to unpack how language can become a tool of hierarchy and control through, for example, accent, or through proper and improper registers, through the very idea of speaking correctly. And it's funny because we are recording it. I'm talking for myself in a poor English, broken English. But then we'll try to connect this issue to gender disinformation, because sexist and transphobic narrative often win not only because of what they say, but because of how they say it. So if you ever been judged for the way you speak, or you have seen someone attacked for how they say it and not how they say what they say and not for what they say, this episode is for you. So Rosalba, before attending your presentation in Naples of your book, I never heard of the concept of linguicism. What does it mean, and when and how you started your reflection about it?
Yes, my research started like 8 years ago, thanks to Silvia Calamai. She's a colleague of mine, and she works at the University of Siena as a sociolinguist. And I was her postdoc student. And at the time, she had a project on attitudes toward non-native accents in Italian schools. Her project wanted to investigate if teachers tend to assign lower grades to students who speak with non-prestigious, non-standard accents. And this was my starting point. And then I started to read about this, moving from attitudes to more general ideologies. I discovered that there is a word for this, and that is called linguicism. And this word was elaborated by a Finnish linguist, Tove Skutram Kangas. And the definition is something that we do in order to give less power, less money to other people by virtue of their language. So if there is an unequal distribution of power based on the language, and this can act in many, many ways. This, for example, can act by the accent a person has. So, for example, if I'm speaking with a regional accent, but even if I'm speaking with a less powerful language. So think about English. In the contemporary world, English is the language of science. And so everybody that works at the universities, but even in research institutions, has to speak English in order to be published, to be recognized for his or her work. But speaking English is not so easy everywhere. So there is a sort of hidden discrimination of people that cannot have a proper English language for writing a paper, for example. And this translates in real cost. That is, people have to spend money in order to be corrected for their English. They cannot access specific positions of teaching institution for their English. And we tend to think about this as something that is neutral. That is, it has always been like this, and we cannot do anything to solve this problem. But I think that thinking about it, it's the first step to go on in analyzing how language can really be a barrier in discriminating people.
Yes, about it, I can think about the fact that I also do research in university, and you're right. If you don't know English, but in a very, very good way, so that you can do conferences, you can write papers, you have to spend money to translate your paper, to submit to an important journal, for example, and this tells a lot about where you came from. For example, I never took English classes privately, so I just learned English in school, and of course my English is poorer than someone who took English classes privately. So this means that maybe their status, their work will be recognized in a way that mine maybe will not be recognized. So I see the point. It's a very crucial issue.
It was the same for me. I'm just thinking about it. For example, when I was in high school, I used to learn English during school time. But even maybe because I'm a girl, for my family, for my mother, it was not possible to think to let me go in summer trips to, United Kingdom, and not only because we didn't have the economic possibility to pay a lot of money to go in London to study English for the whole summer months, but even because my mother, that is, a woman from the southern part of Italy, it was not possible to think about a lonely girl alone in a country very, very, very far from home. And she was quite a shock for her to think about it. So I didn't have the possibility to learn English outside classes.
Yeah, I can get it. Also because I'm from the south of Italy, so I really understand your point.
Yeah, also as a student, you can see that English is very privileged thing, because I'm studying at university right now, and university is by itself a privileged status, because only determined people can access to it. But also, I'm seeing that I'm in a master course right now, but during the years, the bibliography of the courses are integrating more and more English books in it without even a translation. So if you cannot speak English, you cannot take the course because, it's almost impossible to understand a paper in English about linguistic, about gender studies, or about anything if you don't have a knowledge. So it's, a very privileged thing to be able to speak and understand a good English.
And I had the same problem with my classes because, I teach in a language course. So they learn English from the very beginning, from the first year. So they know English because they are studying languages. But even if they are studying it, it is very difficult for them to study. And I noticed it from this year because the bibliography was in English because it was impossible for me to find papers in Italian about linguicism. And during the exams, everybody told me this exam was very, very hard because I had many, many difficulties in understanding these concepts and translating it to Italian because the oral exam was in Italian, obviously.
No, yeah, of course, I get that because, maybe I'm studying a paper in English and I totally understand it, so I'm okay with it. But then I'm trying, okay, but how do I say this in Italian? How can I translate it? Because I have the concept in English, but, translating is a totally different thing. So it requires a switch somehow in your mind.
Okay. Well, the problem is that, as I said earlier, the problem is that we often don't know how to promote, for example, communication in Europe. Like, okay, how is it possible that I'm going to a conference and everybody understands me if I'm speaking in Italian or in German, etc. But maybe the solution is not to forget English at all, but to think that there is not the only alternative, even because this sort of prestige that we tend to assign to English is restricted only to certain kinds of English. So, for example, British or American. Let's think about Indian or Nigerian English. They are native speakers of English because of their colonial past. But if I'm quite sure that if a student goes to the English exam at the university speaking in Nigerian or Indian English, she or he will not get an higher grade compared to an American English. So it's not English that counts only. This kind of particular English that is associated with economic capitalistic power.
Yes, exactly. Because they will tell them that they need to learn English, but it's their national language after colonialism. A lot of I studied international relations for sub-Saharan Africa. So I read a lot about it, especially because usually all the books in African languages aren't translated much. But in some countries, for example, Nigeria, they speak English. They speak Nigerian English because of their domination. But when they go abroad for work or for university reasons, they hear that they need to learn to speak English, and that's crazy because they do actually speak English.
And I see this situation many times in classes. For example, I told you this during the presentation, but I was in a school in Tuscany, and there was this Nigerian student, and he was speaking English because he's from Nigeria. His mother speaks good Nigerian English, but this guy had very, very, very lower grades in English. And for me, it was crazy, and it was impossible to talk with the teacher, letting her understand that he knows English maybe better
Yeah.
than his peers, maybe. Because at least he knows it from the birds.
Yeah, as you said before, it's really an intersectionality thing, because there is racism here going on. Because, if you see a black man talking in English, a very good English, you're like, okay, so that's not as good as the English we speak as white people. And also, as you mentioned before, the colonial thing, because the Nigerian English, I think, came from the imperial thing about USA and British. So we tend to see it as a minor thing. A minor English are not as good as English as ours. We are not native speakers, so.
Yes, but that's quite crazy, because English has a very great power, because in a certain sense, we can say that is a language that is for everybody, because everybody speaks English at different levels. Okay, everybody knows a bit of English.
Yeah.
For movies, from music, for all the media that you have in mind, for video games, etc. But even if there is a language that can sound so democratic, it has no owner, but conversely, it has a very strong ownership from white people from Europe and America.
Exactly.
For me, the problem is that languages sound like neutral. There is no power in languages. There is no, no possibility to be political with languages. But there's not. But just think about two different countries where different languages are spoken. Some of them are recognized and others are not recognized. Think about Italy. We have minority languages, 12 minority languages that have a sort of official recognition in the law. So I can have public signs. I can teach them in school, like Sardinian or Ladin or Friulan. So how is it possible that we don't think about languages as something that are a political tool in a certain way?
No, yeah, it's impossible. Even also because, language has power in itself. I'm just thinking about Italian, and I don't know if you know Alma Sabatini.
Yes.
Yeah, she did a very good job about in researching the sexism in the Italian language, and she talks all about this power in the language, because in Italian we have the masculine. I don't know how to translate maschile sovresteso in masculine.
Generic masculine. So you say you use the masculine form even if you are speaking to a feminine audience. So you use ministry even if the minister is a woman. So you say ministro, but for male and female.
Yeah, or you're using like female doctor instead of just doctor itself, or female lawyer, or even the diminutive, like professore and professoressa. You have to add something to let the audience know that you are talking about a female and not a male. Or even when we are using like the for example, la mandatorio or la notari. we tend to use like the article before the name, the surname. So everyone knows we are speaking about a female and not a male person.
But remember that the Alma Sabatini work dates 40 years ago. It was published in the 80s. I mean, not like yesterday, but still today. It is crazy how people cannot overcome this. We have 40 years of debate about using the feminine form for feminine names. And I have another example that is the other way around. That is the word for, I don't remember the English name, the midwife, if I'm right.
Okay.
In Italian, usually this profession, that is what he or she is not a doctor, if I'm right, but he's the one who is helping women having birth. Usually is a female. So we have the ostetrica, midwife. Okay. But we have some obstetricians that is midman. But it sounds strange as the feminine form. So it's not always a mark of the A, the A of ministra. But maybe because this work is strongly associated with a female.
Yeah.
So people have very, very strong resistance in accepting that we can say ostetrico with the male form, with the masculine.
Yes. Also, Alma Sabatini, I remember because I did a course on it and talk about the semantic polarization, like the different meaning we give to this word, even if you are the masculine or the feminine way. So I think
secretary.
Exactly. I think it's going to be a little hard to translate in English, but for example, our teacher told us about the maestra and maestra. When we think about maestro, that is teacher, a male teacher, we think about maybe Michelangelo or someone.
Yeah.
The female maestra, the female teacher, we are thinking about maybe the elementary teacher and not someone with a higher grade.
And yes, secretary is the same. If you use the feminine form, you think about someone who is helping, I don't know, maybe the president. But if you think about the masculine form, so segretario, maybe
you think about United Nations.
Yes, you think about United Nations, of political parties. Not someone who is at the reception of a desk taking the call from.
Yes, so the language is very, very powerful, and it has power in itself. And as Humboldt say, language is the organ of thought. So with the language, we start thinking and we form our reality. So it's really, really important. And with Amalia, during the workshop, we were thinking about for example, the word abuser, and how, the word shapes everything we think and how we think about reality. Because abuser, how do you say, made you think about something that is something, so not someone, something that it's being used in a wrong way. So, when you think about abuser, there is someone that is not using something in the right way, but not someone. So not a female. We are thinking about the women as a tool, as an object that can be used or abused. So even a word that seems neutral or seems like, a right word to use, it's not so right.
Yes, and I think that this points to all the studies that were conducted in order to verify how, for example, femicide are narrated in a very wrong way, because journalists usually depict women not as the victims, but are quite the perpetrator. And
Yes.
the perpetrator is usually portrayed in a passive form. So a woman was stabbed, not Mario stabbed.
Yeah.
Even if now in a newspaper we can find an article that will talk about feminism, the way it is depicted is always the same, but maybe it depends on clickbaiting, because newspapers want to have an engagement in comments, for example. So the very nature of networks or media maybe contribute to the polarization of the debate. Maybe they want to depict, to write articles in a bad way in order to create engagement, for example.
Yes. That's totally true.
Yes, but by doing that, they are contributing to the secondary victimization of our victims. So, it's really bad. Last year, I did an internship with a project with my professor of politics sociology, something like this. And we analyzed different articles written by Italian newspaper, and you could see how bad they were written. I was analyzing Libero. So I was just doing this work and my eyes were burning, because you read all these things and you were like, okay, but how is it possible? Because millions of people are reading this. So they are shaping our future, because so all the readers are going to believe that what they are writing is true. So this is how reality is formed. So you were like, just this sense of, how do you translate impotenza? I don't. So I was there thinking I couldn't do anything, because there are this power. There is this power, and you're like just so not hopeful. So
Yeah.
So
You feel powerless.
Powerless. Yeah, exactly. Powerless.
But I think that, for example, during the years, many workshops were organized for journalists, okay, to tell them, listen, you cannot write an article like this. And this had no success at all. And I think that the only solution is that the marginalized people, women, people of color, etc., take the position to write an article. So maybe if a woman engage in feminist issues, become a journalist, maybe for me nowadays is the only solution. I can't believe anymore that if I'm doing a workshop with male journalists, they will understand that there is something that does not work in their way of writing an article. But maybe I'm too pessimistic. I don't know.
No. As we get older, we can control the algorithm a bit, because I realized that if I watch a video more than 10 seconds, then TikTok, for example, it's gonna show me 10 other videos like this. So if I don't want to see the video, I'm just gonna skip it or just put I'm not interested. But a 12-year-old boy or a 12-year-old girl, they don't know how to do it, because I think we were talking about it during the workshop in Valencia, because there is nothing in school that teaches you how to behave on the internet, how to create a safe space, or they teach you about maybe filter bubble. That's not everything you see on the internet, it's the reality. And if you're seeing all these misogynist videos or transphobic videos, it's because you are in a filter bubble, and the world it's not all like this. But even the other way around, because for example, I train my algorithm to show me some good things, like non-transphobic videos, non-homophobic videos. But, sometimes I too have to realize that this is a filter, this is a bubble that I'm living in, that, there is still bad outside, and not everything I'm seeing reflects the true reality that is going on around me.
Yes, and I think that, again, maybe this is a problem that goes very, very far, and it touches the problems of regulation of internet, regulation of algorithms. Even think about all the hidden work that people do when checking the comments on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
There's not so easy to decide if there is okay that a person from tra l'altro parentesi, come faccio a dire, però insomma comunque paesi, cioè spesso no, ovviamente persone razzializzate con stipendi.
Sì. Infatti quello è uno di quello che si definisce dirty work. Cioè,
Esatto. The dirty work of a person that has to check comments and to flag comments that contain hate speech. And we're sure that there is the only solution to address this problem, because you know that this mechanism is the same mechanism that permits platform to flag comments about Palestine, for example.
Yeah, that again, that's crazy, because in order to keep our platform clean, we need to use work from third world countries.
Yes.
So, or the global south. Maybe it's better to call it the global south, not the third world country. So, we are just we want better platform, but we want them using their work, their unpaid work most of the times. And most of the times they're women, because the men are doing other things. So are women that are exposed to, all these hateful comments, all this
violence.
Yes. I remember that there was like this big example that it was a famous photography of kids like running in a work context. And Rosalba, I wanted to ask you, can you give us some reading tips in order to...
Okay, that's not so easy, but I have a couple of suggestions in mind. For example, for linguicism, I think that there is this very beautiful website, Circe Project. There was an Erasmus Plus project dedicated to linguicism. And in this website, you will find many, many things. For example, interviews with people who experienced linguicism, but even resources for teachers. So lesson plans that can be used in everyday teaching practices, a newsletter. And there was also the possibility, to submit stories, anonymous stories from people who wanted to share their life. So this, if we want to talk about linguicism, there are even a couple of very, very beautiful books about another field of inquiry, that is radiolinguistics. So the study that is interested in investigating how language and how race are co-constructed each others. For example, there is one very beautiful, even if not easy to read, book that is called Radiolinguistics: How Language Shapes Our Ideas About Race. And I think that there is another book that was quite popular, and at least in Italy, that is the one from Brigitte Vasaglio, Linguaggio inclusivo ed esclusione di classe. I don't remember the English name, But in this book, Vasallo talks about the Spanish language and how there is discrimination, Castilian and Catalan. So it's another sociolinguistic situation, but very, very interesting to analyze. And if we want to move on, internet, language, etc., I found very interesting the book from Manolo Farci, Quel che resta degli uomini, that addressed the masculine side of the coin. So how is it possible that males can be very bad on the internet? And there is another quite recent book that is the one from Silvia Semenzin, Internet non è un posto per femmine. It's very easy to read. So if you want to have an idea of how internet and how algorithms work, and I think that it's a good starting point.
Yes, can I add another one that I studied?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found it really interesting. It's Speech, The Dark Side of Language by
the one from Claudia Bianchi.
Yes, Claudia Bianchi, that analyze all the hate speech, how hate speech is becoming more and more popular on the internet, and she's also using Austin theories on linguistic. That I think it's really important to see how language has a true effect on our life.
Yes, yeah, good point. I forgot it is very not easy, but very accessible reading.
Yes.
Thank you. My reading list becomes every day longer.
You've been listening to the Future Chronicles podcast, an Erasmus Plus project with Synergy Italy, Resistant Dreams Sweden, Java Solida Spain, and Europejski Dialog Slovakia. Journalists for Human Rights, North Macedonia and IVC Romania working together for gender justice across Europe. Futures Chronicles challenges gender disinformation and supports young people in resisting it through education, storytelling, and civic engagement. Future Chronicles is co-founded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. The views and opinions expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the European Education and Culture Executive Agency. Neither the European Union or EACEA can be held responsible for them. If this episode resonated with you, share it. If you'd like to connect or learn more about the project, please visit future-chronicles.eu or search for us on social media. Thanks for listening.